Hi everyone, we are here with Phil Brooks, who is the Vice President of Programming and Innovation at Graduate Philadelphia. So hi Phil, how are you?
How you doing? I like how you said that. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're amazing. You're doing amazing things. So tell us a little bit about what you do at Graduate Philadelphia.
Absolutely. So Graduate Philadelphia is a nonprofit that works in the city. We primarily work with adult learners in advancing post-secondary education and credential attainment. We really try to also focus on workforce development, so really thinking about the adult learner as a whole, what different resources they need from the financial side, what different resources they need from wraparound services to college and career, and that as a whole is something that we pride ourselves on.
Okay, wonderful. And innovation is in your title, which I think is really interesting.
Right.
So tell me about what you think innovation looks like in higher education.
Yeah, for me, I think this is something that can be talked about for a really long time. Innovation, for my definition, is a collection of experiences and creative flows that really lends itself to completing a task, right? So for me, my role, it's really important to kind of think ahead, think creatively. In higher education, a lot of higher eds are looking at different ways to engage non-traditional students, traditional students, but what are the pathways, what are some of the creative ways that we can engage adult learners of all backgrounds, of all kind of different degrees, and backgrounds to really think through what's going to be supported for them, how can we get them to complete their degree, and what's going to be supported for their families and their futures moving forward.
Okay, absolutely. So what are the gaps? Because you're working in higher education,
Yeah.
right? And so tell us a little bit about the state of higher education and where you feel there really needs to be progress and change made.
Yeah, this is a really good question. One big barrier, or one kind of gigantic gap, is back balances. So there was a study done a really long time ago that focused on Philadelphia. That specific report said that there's over 100,000 individuals in Philadelphia that have some credit but no degree. And there's so many factors in between that really prevents a person from moving forward. Back balances is one of those things that people don't really think about. There's a 200 back balance at a specific university, but that $200 can be looked at as oh, you can pay that off and continue moving forward. But for the average Philadelphian who's working, who's a mother, who's a parent, who's a caregiver, who needs to decide whether they want to pay the electric bill or get groceries, that's a big gap. And part of what Graduate Philadelphia does is we talk with higher ed, we negotiate, we get different funding to really think through what's the best way to help that individual move forward. So one, they can be successful, they can operate in a way that's going to be in alignment with their family's goals and their family's visions.
Absolutely. So one of the things that's really unique about what you do with Graduate Philadelphia is that you focus on targeting older populations, students who have gone to school, who have left school and are looking to return or may have barriers to returning.
Right.
What perspective do you have that's unique or different from traditional higher education organizations that are focusing on high school students?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So workforce development, and I'll start with that because typically if you're focusing on post-secondary education or higher education, you're not thinking about job attainment or apprenticeships or trades. You're thinking about actually either getting the degree itself or getting some type of micro or regular credential. So with the adult learners we work with, they're literally in the middle of a tailspin, hurricane, however you want to phrase it, where their lives can't stop for a degree. Their lives can't stop for a micro credential. So how do we support them alongside of helping them, get some change, get some money in their pocket, maybe be an entrepreneur, get something that's in alignment with what they want to do, and at the same time, get that degree. So that's really a unique strategy or a unique way that Graduate Philadelphia helps our adult learners.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a student who is, we're all students, right? And
Agreed.
we never stop being students, but being 15 and being a sophomore in high school and being 35 or 45 and, you know, having children and a full-time job, your priorities are different, your time is split differently.
Absolutely.
And if you have created a lifestyle that maybe somewhat supports you, it may not feel as comfortable or easy to go back to school to better yourself, to further your education. You may think, okay, I want to do it, I might not want to do it, or you may really have the desire to do it, but not have the means
There you
or
go.
the time or the energy or the money or all the things.
All the things.
All the things, yeah. So that's a really important highlight to focus on with Graduate Philadelphia, and I think that's great support. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think there's a lot of hesitation with adult learners. You know, there's information out there, but does that information lead them to success? And part of that is helping them kind of like see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, hey, my kids are, you know, graduating from high school. I have this degree, or I have not degree, but I have these credentials, or I have these kind of like credits towards a specific university. I may want to pick that back up. Or I may want to upskill, or I may want to reskill, or I may want to look at a specific, you know, focus of what's going on in the country right now. AI, artificial intelligence, is literally the thing that's being talked about, and I feel that that's going to be talked about for a really long time. So how do you engage a 35-year-old? How do you engage a 55-year-old in talking about the ethics of AI, the kind of like digital equity of what's happening in the country right now? How do you manage finances? All of these things. And it's really important. Once we get the ball rolling, the thirst for knowledge is there, and I see it all the time. We had a married couple, they were both 65, and they learned so much during our digital literacy class, so much so that they came back and said, do you have more for us? So that's actually passing the ball to Graduate Philadelphia to enhance what we're doing, to build more partnerships with employers, all of the above.
Wow, yeah. Something else that just crossed my mind is when you're in high school, you know, you pick a major. You're like, I think I want to study biology. I think I want to go to school for business. A lot of students are undecided. And it made me just wonder, you know, when you're older, maybe when you were 18 and 19, you went to school for English, and now you're 35 and 45, and you're like, I'm not interested in English.
Bingo.
I have all these English credits, or you know what I mean? And I don't want to go back to school for that.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that anymore. So is that something that you come across often? And how do you support that obstacle?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So a few days ago, we were talking about transferable skills, right? So you learn something, and you may not think this is something that you're going to utilize in your future career, your future kind of like profession, all of these things. But at the end of the day, you go back to some of those skills and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing this other kind of like random thing, and the skills that I learned as an English major is actually coming through right now. Your boss or whoever, or if you're working for yourself, you may be like, oh, I need to write this report, or I need to write this grant. Those English skills come in handy. So at the end of the day, it's like taking that transferable skills. No, you may not want to be, you know, a writer or all those other things, but it comes in handy because as you kind of evolve as a human being, you're utilizing these transferable skills, whether it comes from academia, whether it comes from your profession, or personally. You know, if you're on teams like soccer teams, or if you're doing art, or if you're doing music, all of those kind of like very specific communication skills, those skills that aren't taught in the classroom, are very relevant moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that's a necessary perspective shift for all of us. Like, what can you do? Because we all have our own unique gifts and talents and attributes that we can bring to the table. So having someone like yourself or your team at Graduate Philadelphia to say, look, we can look at what you learned, we can look at what you're good at, and we can help you kind of rewrite the narrative in a way that supports you at this stage in your life.
That is exactly right.
That's important.
Yeah.
So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.